Hello friends, my name is Courtney and I'm an educator here at George Washington's Mount Vernon. Did you know that Mount Vernon is a big place? A place like this takes all kinds of jobs to make it run smoothly. Every single job plays an important part because we are one big team. Teamwork is important to getting big jobs done. Just like it takes all of us doing our part to make our country run, it takes different types of people and jobs to make this historic site available to everyone. Even today, watching this video, I'm working with more friends behind the camera to bring this Mount Vernon program to you wherever you are. Now, one of the biggest questions people ask me when they find out I work at Mount Vernon is if I give tours. Well, yes, sometimes I do, and I get to work with families and students from all over the world doing history interpretation. But there's a lot more that goes on at this site than just tours. What someone sees at Mount Vernon is only part of what happens here every single day. You'll soon find that there's a little something for everyone here. Now, if you've ever visited Mount Vernon or seen our social media posts in the spring, then you've probably seen the lambs. Aren't they so cute? In fact, there are lots of animals who live at Mount Vernon today. Lambs, oxen or cows, chickens, hogs, horses, and even one donkey. With all of those animals, who do you think is here to take care of them? Let's go find out. I'd like to introduce you to a member of our livestock department.
Damara.
All right, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So what are you working on this morning?
Well, we're waiting with bated breath for our lambs to arrive.
Oh, that is so exciting. Yes, springtime here at Mount Vernon, so that means lambs. Great. Now, do you work only with the lambs, or do you get to work with other animals here?
We have a variety of species here at Mount Vernon. We have cattle, pigs, horses, and of course the sheep.
Wow, that sounds like a lot. How long have you been working with animals?
I started working with horses when I was about 12, and I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that was.
So, I mean, it sounds like it takes years of experience to get to work with different types of animals and understand their needs.
Well, you have to be comfortable with yourself and comfortable with the animals.
That makes sense. Have you mostly worked in your career here at Mount Vernon, or have you worked elsewhere?
I've been at Mount Vernon for almost 16 years. I worked as a riding instructor. I worked as a barn rat, as they say, mucking stalls in exchange for lessons when I was younger.
Oh, that sounds like a great deal. So what does a typical day on your job look like?
Well, we always start out with the feeding, watering, and haying of the animals.
Okay.
Everybody gets breakfast first thing. Everybody gets dinner at the end of the day.
And what's the time frame on that?
We start between 7 and 7:30, and then we feed out about 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay. All right, so 7 to 3. That's actually very similar to what George Washington did. He would have breakfast at 7 and their main meal at 3 in the afternoon.
Well, the animals want their breakfast.
Yes, well, I understand that. So, are there any parts of this day that are your favorite?
I love going up on the historic area and feeding the animals. As soon as the feed goes in the pans, everything is quiet and the birds are singing, and you can kind of imagine what it was like about 200 years ago.
That sounds magical. So this is the early morning feeding before everything's open?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, that sounds great. So, Damara, I have a question. Do we name the animals here at Mount Vernon? And if so, how do we name them?
Every animal here at Mount Vernon has a name.
Every animal?
Every single one.
Realize. Yes.
We have almost 100 head of livestock here.
Wow.
The pigs came with their names, Bruno and Paula. The horses, some of them come with names, and some of them we make up. The sheep, we do a different theme every year with the lambs.
Okay.
So in keeping with that theme, and sometimes with a line of, mother to daughter kind of thing.
Okay, do we have a theme for this year picked out since we're waiting for the lambs?
We do. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, that is so fun. All right, well, I'm excited to hear what we'll name the little lambs when they arrive. So the question I really want to know, and I'm sure our friends at home would like to know, is did George Washington name his animals? And if so, what sorts of names did he use?
Well, to my knowledge, the dogs absolutely had names, and he had many dogs. I think Sweet Lips and Tippler were some of the examples. I'm not sure about the sheep or the cattle. The horses certainly had names. Magnolia, Nelson, Blueskin.
Okay.
So everybody had to have a name if you were interacting with them, like riding or working on the fields.
Okay, so dogs and horses had names that we know. Yeah, those names sound a little different to us here in the 21st century, which actually reminds me, back in George Washington's time, in the 18th century, who took care of the animals? I mean, today, you and the livestock department take care of you said 150 different animals?
Just under 100, yeah.
So then who took care of them in George Washington's time?
Well, the enslaved population was obviously very involved in the care of the animals. There was a man named Peter Hardiman who Washington, I believe, leased from somebody who was in charge of the horses, did a lot of care with the horses. And I think his son actually down the line did the same thing.
Thank you for sharing. One thing I wanted to ask, why is it important for people to learn about the work that you do and your team does here at Mount Vernon?
Well, I think the animals added dimension of the atmosphere to Mount Vernon. It gives you an idea of how a farm was operating. Washington, of course, was first and foremost a farmer. The land, the animals were a primary concern for him. So to be able to represent the animals that Washington had and give people a clearer picture of how things worked in the 18th century and how important animals were for food, fiber, and for work.
Yeah, well, you made several great points. First off, we think of General Washington as a general or as the president, but he was a farmer as well. And also, yes, getting that full experience, we actually have a cameo there.
Right, that's Bruno.
That's Bruno, all right. Thank you, Bruno. Yeah, again, this case in point, it shows that you get that full experience of what it may have been like in the 18th century. I do have one last question for you. We have probably viewers at home today that may be interested in both animals and history. What advice would you give to a young person who may want to do a job similar to yours someday?
Well, I think with any job, one of the most important things is to show up and show up on time.
Okay.
Be willing to work hard. This job is a lot of fun at times. We get to, mess with the lambs. We get to work with the horses. There's also a lot of stall mucking involved here. So the ability to be able to get dirty is pretty important. But, just be willing to learn and listen more than talking.
Yeah, well, those are similar things to what George Washington himself believed in, believed in teamwork, showing up on time, and working hard. Absolutely. Any other things? Is there any, another animal? Is there any books that students can read, or maybe any college programs down the line they can think about? Or is it really just kind of going out and getting experience?
Well, I studied animal science in college and then rode horses and taught horseback riding. So for me, the horses were very key in part of why I took this job and how I got this job. As far as the other animals, though, being able to walk in and have the animal be comfortable and for you to be comfortable with the animal is really important. A lot of people, take riding lessons, or they grow up on farms, or they've worked around, cattle, but you can do it without actually having the same background. Again, you just have to be willing to work hard and to pay attention.
So just kind of follow your interests, work hard, and it'll come together. Yeah, and it takes many different backgrounds.
Right.
Great. Well, I think we were talking earlier about teamwork. It takes lots of different types of people, lots of different types of jobs to make it work.
Yes.
So, well, thank you so much for sharing with us today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks. You too, Courtney.
Thank you. Let's recap what we talked about today. We learned that Mount Vernon is a big place and takes a big team to make it all happen. Every single person plays an important part in making it available to you, whether you visit here in person or online. We also learned about the work done by Mount Vernon's livestock team to care for the animals. This work is important because, as was pointed out, it helps bring Mount Vernon to life. Seeing the animals makes it feel like it did during George Washington's lifetime. Now, as a young person, you can start learning more about working with animals by maybe taking horseback riding lessons, like actually working with the animals, or by going to your local library or online to read more about animals, and maybe even further down the line, pursuing a college degree. You can also learn about what it is to be part of a team and work with others to achieve and contribute to your community in ways that are more than just one person alone. Can you imagine if Damara was the only one here at Mount Vernon? But as part of a team, we all work together in different ways to work towards one goal, to share and preserve Mount Vernon's history. George Washington himself believed that teamwork was important to keep our government running. Just like Mount Vernon, our whole nation is dependent on people working together. To learn more about animals, livestock, Washington, and teamwork here at Mount Vernon, visit our webpage for more information and an activity that you can do at home. Tune in next time for another look at Mount Vernon's team. I wonder who we will meet next.